The planet Varela Prime was green, humid, and full of danger. Giant trees covered the land, and thick vines twisted around metal ruins from an old alien war. Strange sounds echoed from the jungle roars, chirps, and distant explosions. War had come here. The United Human Federation and the Threxian Empire had been fighting for years. This jungle planet was the latest battlefield. The Threxians wanted to build a base here. Humans wanted to stop them. Commander Marcus Trent had one job: destroy a Threxian communication tower deep in enemy territory. If he succeeded, the Threxians would lose contact with their nearby fleets for days, giving humanity a chance to strike. But things had gone wrong. His squad was ambushed during the night. Plasma fire came from the trees. His team fought bravely, but they were outnumbered. One by one, they fell. Marcus ran, bleeding from a cut on his side. Alone now. But he wasn't going to quit. Marcus moved like a shadow through the jungle. He knew how to hide, how to breathe slowly, how to blend into nature. Special ops training was the only reason he was still alive. He stopped to check his map. The Cums Tower was still 5 kilometers north. He'd have to cross a canyon and avoid Threxian patrols. Easy, right? He sighed, then moved on. As he walked through the trees, he heard something strange. Not an explosion, not an animal, not a machine. It was a cry. A small, weak voice, almost like a child, crying in fear. Marcus frowned. There were no humans on this side of the jungle, and Threxians rarely brought civilians near battle zones. But still, the sound was real. He followed it carefully. His rifle was ready. After moving through a curtain of thick leaves, he saw something that made him freeze. There on the jungle floor was a small Threxian girl. She was about 3 feet tall, her skin a pale blue, her eyes large and silver. She had thin antennae and wore a silk-like robe that was torn and stained with dirt. She was crying. Her leg was wounded, caught under a fallen tree branch. Marcus raised his weapon, but she looked up at him with wide eyes full of fear, not hatred. She didn't scream, she didn't run, she just trembled. Marcus hesitated. This was an enemy. Soldier would report the position and move on, but he didn't. Instead, he stepped closer, slowly. He knelt down and used one hand to gently lift the branch. The girl whimpered, but didn't fight him. He put his rifle down beside him. That felt strange but right. "You're hurt," he said softly. Of course she didn't understand him. She looked at him, blinking, confused. But she didn't run. Marcus took a bandage from his belt and wrapped her leg. She hissed a little in pain but stayed still. "There," he said. "Better." She gave him a tiny nod. Marcus was no father. He had no family. But something in his heart pulled him to protect her. He stood and looked around. The jungle was still. "Can't leave you here," he muttered. "Guess you're with me now." He picked her up gently, wrapped her thin arms around his neck. She was lighter than he expected. Marcus adjusted his gear, held his rifle with one hand, started moving again now with a new mission. Protect the girl. The journey grew harder. Marcus had to avoid drones scanning the forest. He threw rocks to distract them. He crawled through mud to stay hidden. Once a Threxian scout passed only 5 meters from them. The girl, though young, seemed to understand the danger. She stayed quiet, never making a sound while they hid at night. They found shelter in the hollow of a tree. Marcus gave her a protein bar from his pack. She sniffed it, then took a bite. She smiled. He smiled back. "Not bad, huh?" said. She made a small noise, almost like a laugh. He pointed to himself. Marcus looked at him, then pointed. To herself. Ilaria. Ilaria, he repeated. "That's a pretty name." She smiled again. Marcus leaned back against the tree and looked up at the night sky through the branches. Stars twinkled far above. "What are you doing here, Ilaria?" he whispered. "You're not just any Threxian kid, are you?"
By the second day.
He had pieced together some clues. Her clothing was too fine, made of shimmering material that only royal Threxians wore. Her bracelets had markings of the imperial family. Marcus cursed under his breath. This girl wasn't just a child. She was a princess. Suddenly everything made sense. A royal visit to inspect the planet. A crash, maybe. Or an ambush. She got separated. If the Threxians knew a human had her, it'd send everything they had to retrieve her. But if the wrong Threxians found her rogue warlords, rebel generals, she might not survive. A royal child could be used as a weapon in political games. Marcus now had a choice: finish his mission and blow the Combs Tower, or get this girl to safety. He didn't have time for both. He looked at Ilaria. She was asleep in his arms, trusting him completely. His heart gave the answer before his brain did. He would protect her that night. Marcus found an old outpost abandoned by both sides. The building was falling apart, but the satellite dish still stood. He climbed to the top and set up a signal relay. He switched to a neutral frequency, one used only for emergency diplomacy. It was risky. "This is Commander Marcus Tren of the United Human Federation," he said into the mic. "I have something... someone. A young Threxian girl. She's safe. She needs to get home." Silence. Then static. Faint signal. Then a voice, cold and precise. "This is Royal Threxian Command? Who are you to hold the princess?" Marcus's eyes widened. They knew. "I'm not your enemy," he said. "I'm a soldier. She was alone. I saved her. She's with me, unharmed." A pause. Then another voice came on, softer, deeper, and full of power. "I am Queen Sarava," the voice said. "Claim to have my daughter?" "Yes," Marcus said. "She told me her name. Ilaria. She's safe. I can prove it." He activated a small camera. Ilaria stirred in her sleep beside him. Her small form curled under his jacket. There was silence on the other end. Then a single word. "Thank you." Marcus lowered the mic. He wasn't sure what would happen next. Maybe they'd send a ship. Maybe they'd shoot him down. But for the first time in days, he felt hope. Maybe, just maybe, this war didn't have to end in fire, because even in the heart of a jungle, in the middle of a war, one human soldier had chosen to save a life instead of taking it, and that choice had changed everything. The sun rose over Varela Prime. Light filtered through the tall trees, making the jungle glow gold and green. Birds with bright feathers flew overhead, their wings beating the air with a soft hum. Commander Marcus Tren didn't stop to enjoy the view. His eyes were sharp, scanning every shadow. His arms were tired, but he held the small Threxian princess close to his chest. Ilaria had woken up early. She didn't speak much, but she watched Marcus with quiet trust. The night before, Marcus had contacted the Threxian queen. He had risked his life to send that message. Now he was waiting for a response, hoping it wouldn't come with bombs. Suddenly, a loud screech broke the silence. Marcus froze. That wasn't an animal. That was a Threxian hunter drone. He ducked under a fallen tree, motioning for Ilaria to stay low. She obeyed, crouching quietly beside him. The drone flew past, scanning the forest with red lights. Then another screech, this time from the west. More drones, or patrols. They weren't searching for humans. They were searching for her Marcus. Cursed under his breath, "Someone wants you badly," he muttered. He didn't know yet. Not all Threxians were loyal to Queen Sarava. A group of powerful generals and nobles had turned against her, angry with her efforts to end the war. They didn't want peace. They wanted control and Ilaria. The queen's only child was the perfect target. If she disappeared, the queen would lose everything. Marcus moved quickly. He had only a few hours before enemy troops reached the area. He needed shelter, something defensible. He pulled up a map on his wrist screen. There was an old Threxian science station nearby. It had been abandoned months ago, but it still had a landing pad. "If your people are coming, we'll meet them there," he told Ilaria. She nodded. She didn't understand all his words, but she understood his tone. His voice meant safety. The journey to the station was rough. They climbed steep hills, crossed a narrow log over a rushing river, and hid from Threxian scouts more than once. At one point, Ilaria tripped and cried out. Marcus quickly picked her up and checked her leg. The bandage was soaked. "We need to fix that," he said. Lowering her behind a rock, he opened his med kit and worked carefully. Ilaria gritted her teeth. No tears this time. She was brave stronger than many adults Marcus had known. He smiled. Tough kid. Ilaria gave a weak grin as night fell again. They reached the station. It was half covered in vines, broken glass shining like stars on the ground. But the landing pad still blinked with faint lights, an automatic signal for incoming ships. Marcus carried Ilaria inside. He found an old security room with working cameras and power. It wasn't much, but it was enough. He activated the signal. Booster. This is Marcus Tren. I'm at the science station. The child is safe. I repeat, the child is safe. A reply came faster than expected. We are inbound, said a deep female voice. Do not move from that location. Royal Transport. Arriving in 30 minutes? Marcus relaxed slightly. But just then the cameras blinked. Movement. On the edge of the jungle. Black-armored Threxians crept through the shadows. They weren't moving like soldiers. They were moving like predators. Marcus zoomed in. No royal. Markings? No Queen's Crest? Rogue faction? Trouble? He whispered. He ran back to the security room. Ilaria was resting on a small bench, eyes half closed. She looked up at him. He knelt beside her. We're almost safe, but bad people are coming. You need to stay here. Hide. No noise. Understand? Ilaria's silver eyes widened with fear, but she nodded. He gave her his jacket. Cover with this. I'll come back, I promise. She pulled the jacket around herself like a blanket and crawled into a small storage locker behind the bench. Marcus stood, grabbed his rifle and ran to the main door. The first enemy arrived 10 minutes later. He came silently, crawling through the grass. Marcus saw his shadow and fired one clean shot. The enemy fell. Then more came. 4, 6, 8. Marcus held them off. Using his training and the station's layout to his advantage, he set traps. He used smoke. He fired only when he had a clear shot, but they were many, and he was one. A grenade exploded nearby, shaking the walls. Marcus fell backward, ears ringing. He looked up and saw a Threxian soldier raise his weapon at him before he could fire a blast of blue. Energy struck him from behind. He dropped instantly in the doorway. Stood a tall Threxian woman in golden armor. Her eyes burned with fury, Queen Sarava. Behind her, roll guards moved quickly, clearing the station. Sarava walked toward Marcus, her sharp eyes studying him. You are the human who protected my daughter? Marcus stood slowly, covered in dirt. And blood, yes. She narrowed her eyes. Why? He met her gaze. Because she needed help. Silence. Then where is she? He pointed to the storage locker. Safe. In there. The queen walked over and gently opened the locker. Ilaria looked up and for a moment, said nothing. Then she leaped into her mother's arms. Sarava held her close, eyes closed. My little star, she whispered in her language. Marcus stepped back, giving them space. Later in the main hall of the station, the queen turned to Marcus again. You had no reason to help her. You had orders, I'm sure. You risked your life. Why? He looked tired, but calm. Because war doesn't mean we stop being human. Sarava was silent for a long moment. Finally, she said, You saved more than my daughter tonight, Marcus. Tren, you saved my heart, and perhaps even my empire. Outside, the rogue Threxian soldiers lay defeated. Inside, a spark of peace had been lit. Because of a human soldier who chose mercy over mission. A little girl who saw no enemy in his eyes. The galaxy didn't know it yet, but everything was about to change. The royal Threxian ship rose into the air, its engines humming with deep power. Thick blue light pushed away the jungle dust as it lifted from the old science station on Varela Prime. Commander Marcus Tren stood on the landing pad, watching the ship disappear into the sky. His face was calm, but his thoughts were racing. Inside that ship was Ilaria, the little alien girl he had protected with his life. He had handed her over to her mother, Queen Sarava, the ruler of the Threxian Empire. And now Marcus was alone. The peace didn't last long. Just 15 minutes after the royal ship vanished, a human dropship landed nearby. Soldiers in Federation armor came out, weapons drawn. Commander Tren, the lead officer barked. Hands where we can see them. Marcus slowly raised his hands. He was confused. These were his people, his military. So why did they look angry? At the Human Federation base, Marcus was put in a cold, gray room. No windows, one table, one chair. A man in a black uniform entered, tall, sharp-eyed, and clearly high-ranking. I'm Colonel Reeves, he said flatly. You're in deep trouble, Commander. Marcus leaned back in his chair. Nice to see you too, sir. Reeves slammed a file on the table. You ignored your mission. You abandoned your objective. You made contact with an enemy ruler without clearance. And you gave classified location data to the Threxians. Marcus stayed calm. I saved a child's life. You disobeyed direct orders. Marcus stared at him. And I'd do it again. A long silence. Then Colonel Reeves sighed. There are people in command who want you court-martialed. Some want you jailed, but there are others. Watching closely. Others? Marcus asked. Reeves nodded slowly. You didn't just rescue a child, you may have just changed the course of this war. 3 days later, Marcus sat in a quiet room in the Federation's capital station, orbiting Earth. He wore clean clothes, but he didn't feel relaxed. The door opened. A woman entered. She wore a long coat and had silver hair tied behind her head. Commander Tren, she said. I am Director Isla Vorn, Human Diplomatic Intelligence. Marcus stood and gave a small salute. Ma'am, she sat across from him, her voice calm. You saved the Threxian princess. You spoke directly to Queen Sarava and you survived. Yes. You also gave us something rare, a moment of trust between enemies. Marcus shrugged. It wasn't about trust. It was about doing what's right. Isla gave a small smile. Exactly. She leaned forward. Queen Sarava sent a private message. Yes. She has invited you to the Threxian homeworld as her personal guest. Marcus blinked. What? She called you. The protector of the light, Isla said. It's a sacred title. No non-Threxian has ever received it. Back in Threxian space, the queen stood in her golden throne room, eyes fixed on the stars. Ilaria sat beside her, drawing a picture on a glowing pad of herself, smiling, holding hands with a tall human in armor. The queen looked down and smiled. Her daughter had almost been lost, but a human soldier and enemy had saved her, not for glory, not for politics, just because he cared. That kind of man was rare. She would not forget him. Marcus was flown across star systems in a sleek Federation cruiser to diplomatic envoys. Traveled with him, though they let him lead. When they arrived in Threxian space, they were not attacked. They were welcomed. Threxian royal ships formed an escort, flying in perfect formation. Marcus stared out the window. Never thought I'd live to see this, he whispered. The Threxian homeworld was beautiful. Floating cities rose from the oceans, glowing with soft blue light. Crystal towers reached toward the clouds. Creatures with wings of flame flew through the skies. Marcus stepped onto the landing platform, where dozens of Threxian guards waited. None aimed weapons. Then the crowd parted and Queen Sarava walked forward. She wore ceremonial armor, polished and strong. Beside her stood Ilaria, smiling wide, her small hand waving. Marcus bowed his head slightly. Queen Sarava, he said. Respectfully, she stepped forward and extended her hand, an ancient Threxian sign of deep trust. He took it that night. A celebration was held in the royal dome. Thousands of Threxians watched as Marcus stood before the queen's throne. She raised her voice for all to hear. This human, Commander Marcus Tren, risked his life to protect my daughter. He showed honor, courage, and mercy in the heart of war. The crowd listened in silence. He is no longer just a soldier. He is now a symbol of peace. She stepped down and placed a shining medal on his chest. It was made of rare crystal, shaped like a sun and moon joined. In the name of the Threxian Empire, I grant him the title, Kavir Alshon, Protector of Royal Blood. The crowd cheered. Ilaria ran up and hugged Marcus's leg, laughing. He smiled, kneeling beside her. "You look much better now," said gently. She nodded. "Safe. Now, because of you?" Later, after the ceremony, Marcus sat alone in a garden of glowing plants. The stars above shimmered through a glass ceiling. Queen Sarava joined him, quiet at first. "You gave up everything for her?" she said softly. Marcus shrugged. She was alone. "I've been alone before. I know what it feels like," the queen looked at him closely. "You could have used her. You could have traded her. Why didn't you?" He looked up at the stars. "Because some things are more important than war." Sarava smiled, almost sadly. "If only more of our people believed that." She handed him a small device. "This is a key," she said, "to a starship. A special one. Strong and built by both our engineers and yours." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "Why me?" "It's yours now," she said. "Where you wish, or to return if you ever choose." As Marcus stared at the gift in his hand, he felt something shift inside him. He had come to this world as a soldier, but now it was something else, something greater. Not a hero, not a legend, just a man who chose to do the right thing and was rewarded not with power but with hope. Commander Marcus Trin stood at the window of his new starship, gazing into the stars. The gift from Queen Sarava, named Starlight Valor, floated silently in orbit above the Threxian homeworld. Its silver frame shimmered in the light, and its engines hummed softly. It's made with a perfect mix of human and Threxian technology. It was a symbol of peace. A bridge between two enemy races, and it was now his. But peace is never simple. Inside the ship, Marcus received a secure message on the comes panel. The words were short. "Return to Federation space. High Command requests your presence. Mission critical." Marcus sighed and pressed the response button. "I'll be there." 3 days later, he arrived at the Federation Council headquarters, a towering station above Earth. As soon as he stepped off the ship, he noticed something strange. Guards everywhere, serious faces, quiet voices, tension in the air. A woman in a blue uniform walked up to him. "Commander Trin? I'm Advisor Len. Please follow me." He walked beside her as she explained. "There's been an attack. A secret meeting between Federation diplomats and Threxian envoys was ambushed." Marcus stopped. "Where?" "Neutral Zone 7. 3 envoys dead. 2 diplomats missing." Marcus's jaw tightened. "Who did it?" "We think it's the same rogue Threxian group that tried to kidnap Princess Ilaria." In a private chamber, Marcus stood before the Federation Council. One of the leaders, Admiral Strauss, spoke first. "You were there when the rogue group attacked the science station?" "Yes, sir. You have a relationship with the Threxian Queen."
Cactus nodded slowly. "Yes."
"Then you may be our only hope of saving this peace before it collapses." Back on the Starlight Valor, Marcus set a course for Neutral Zone 7. His mission: find the missing diplomats and expose the traitors. Trying to destroy the fragile peace, he wasn't alone. A Threxian warrior named Velen had joined him, sent by Queen Sarava as a royal guard and partner for this mission. Velen was tall, with dark skin like obsidian and eyes that glowed faint purple. His armor was sharp, and his voice was calm. "I have heard of you, Marcus Trin," Velen said, as they prepared the ship's stealth systems. "Ilaria speaks of you as a hero." Marcus smiled lightly. "I just did what anyone should have done." Velen nodded. "Perhaps. But not everyone does." The closer they flew to Neutral Zone 7, the darker the space became. No stations, no patrols, just silence and stars, until they found the wreckage. Floating debris, burnt ships, a broken Federation signal buoy. Velen scanned the area. Life signs faint. Coming from a nearby asteroid field, Marcus looked ahead. Jagged rocks floated in space like teeth. "If they're hiding prisoners," he said, "that's where they'll be." Inside the asteroid field, the Starlight Valor moved carefully. Suddenly, red lights blinked on the screen. "Missiles incoming," Velen shouted. Marcus took control and dodged fast. The ship rolled between rocks, ducking blasts and debris. From behind the largest asteroid, a dark vessel appeared. Rogue Threxian design. No crest, no name. Weapons hot. They had found the enemy. Marcus powered the Starlight Valor's shields and fired back. The two ships danced between rocks, lasers, and plasma. Flying in every direction, it was close. One blast shook the Valor, causing sparks to fly inside the cockpit. "We can't take another hit," Velen warned. Marcus narrowed his eyes. "Then we don't get hit." He flew straight toward a cluster of small asteroids too tight for most ships, but not for this one. The rogue ship chased them in and got stuck. Marcus fired a focused blast at a rock. Above them, the asteroid cracked and slammed into the enemy ship, crushing its engines. "Direct hit," Velen shouted. They landed on a nearby asteroid base hidden inside a cave, weapons ready. They stepped out and moved through the shadows. Inside, they found prisoners to human diplomats and one injured Threxian noble, locked in cages. "Weak but alive, we came for you," Marcus whispered as he opened the cell. But before they could escape, alarms screamed. Enemy guards ran in from every door. A brutal fight began. Velen's blade flashed like lightning. Marcus fired with calm precision. They fought back to back, pushing through waves of enemies, but there were too many. Then, strange sound echoed through the cave. Boom, boom, boom. A new ship landed just outside. From it came Threxian royal guard sent by Queen Sarava. She had been tracking Marcus's signal. The guards joined the fight, overwhelming the rogues. Within minutes, it was over. The traitors were captured. The prisoners were rescued. The peace was still alive. Back aboard the Starlight Valor, Marcus sent a message to both the Federation and the Threxian Palace. Diplomats are safe. Rogue leaders caught. Proof of their betrayal secured. Peace talks can continue. Queen Sarava answered first. "You have done more than I could ask. My daughter will be proud." The Federation Council followed. "Excellent work, Commander. Return for debrief. Honors will be prepared." But Marcus didn't reply immediately. He stood at the window again. Looking out at the stars, Velen joined him. "You do not act like a soldier," Velen said. "You act like something else." Marcus chuckled. "What's that?" Velen looked serious, like a man who believes in the future. That night, Marcus received a private message. It was from Ilaria. She appeared on the screen, holding a small toy shaped like his ship. Double quotes, "Hello, Marcus. Mama says you're a star now. I miss you. Come visit." Marcus smiled for the first time all day. "I'll be there soon, little one." In a galaxy of war, betrayal, and secrets, one human soldier had changed everything. Not by power, not by orders, but by mercy. And the stars were watching. Commander Marcus Trin stood before the Federation Council once again. But this time, everything felt different. The same leaders who had once doubted him were now giving him a standing ovation. He wasn't wearing a soldier's uniform, he was dressed in a silver-blue robe, marked with two crests, one of Earth's Federation, and the other of the Threxian royal house. For the first time in galactic history, a human was being honored by both civilizations as a hero of peace. And yet, Marcus didn't feel like a hero. He just felt tired. Admiral Strauss stood up and said, "You not only saved the diplomats, you uncovered a conspiracy that could have reignited a full-scale war." Director Isla Vorn added, "More than that. You proved that peace is possible." He gave both sides a reason to believe again. Applause echoed in the grand chamber, but Marcus's eyes were on the stars. Outside the tall windows, he was thinking about a small girl on a faraway planet. Later that day, in a quiet room with no cameras, Director Isla met Marcus alone. "You know," she said softly, "you've become more than a soldier now." "I never wanted to be more," Marcus replied. She smiled. "Maybe that's why you became it." She handed him a sealed scroll and a crystal device. "This is a new proposal, one made by both the Federation and the Threxian Queen." He opened. The scroll lens scanned it quickly. His eyes widened. You want me to be ambassador to the outer systems? Isla nodded. Dual representation with human and Threxian. Marcus leaned back, speechless. You'd live on neutral ground, to travel between our worlds, build trust, solve disputes, train others to do what you did. Marcus looked up slowly. This means I'll have to leave the military. Isla gave a small nod. You saved a galaxy. Now you must help guide it. A week later, Marcus stood aboard the Starlight Valor again. His ship now upgraded with diplomatic tech, better shields, and a new AI system that spoke in both English and Threxian. His co-pilot, Velen, the Threxian warrior, now assigned as his permanent guard and friend. We are no longer enemies, Marcus, Velen said with pride. We are now guardians of peace. Marcus smirked. I hope peace is easier than war, Velen replied. It is not. But it is worth more. Their first destination, the Threxian capital, whirled by personal invitation of Queen Sarava and Princess Ilaria. This time, there was no fear, only celebration. When Marcus stepped off his ship, thousands of Threxians cheered. Lower-like lights floated in the air. Children waved small banners with the symbols of Earth. And Threx, he felt something warm bloom in his chest. He wasn't just a visitor. Anymore, he was family. Queen Sarava waited at the steps of the palace. She wore ceremonial robes and held Ilaria's hand. The little girl ran to Marcus and hugged him tightly. I missed you. Marcus laughed and knelt beside her. I missed you too, Starshine. The queen approached. Welcome back, Commander Tren. Or should I say, Ambassador. He smiled. Still feels strange. It will become normal, she said gently. The galaxy is changing thanks to you. Inside the palace, a great feast was held. Humans and Threxians sat side by side, talking, eating, even laughing. It was a vision Marcus had never imagined during the years of war now. It was real. Later that night, Queen Sarava met Marcus on a balcony overlooking the glowing city. I have something. For you, she said. From her robes, she pulled out a small orb. When she touched it, it projected a glowing star map filled with marked planets. These, she said, are the places where Threxian and human wounds run deep. Places where trust is broken. Marcus studied the map. There's a lot of work ahead. She looked at him. Will you help us heal them? He didn't answer right away. Then he looked her in the eyes and said, yes, I will. Over the next few months, Marcus and Velen visited distant planets. They stopped pirate attacks together, helped set up joint schools, resolved mining disputes without bloodshed. Marcus spoke to angry soldiers, scared farmers, proud Threxian nobles, suspicious human generals. He didn't offer threats, it's just truth, and slowly, trust began to grow. But peace was fragile. On a desert world called Carisfor, a hidden group of mercenaries kidnapped a human mining crew and blamed it on the Threxians. The goal was to ignite war again. Marcus and Phone flew to the planet at once. There, they found the camp. Heavily guarded, hostile, dozens of lives at risk. No backup this time, Marcus muttered. Velen nodded. Only us. Let's make it count. They snuck through rocks and sand, disabling sensors and avoiding drones. At dawn, they attacked, fast, precise. Velen's blade danced like wind. Marcus fired stun rounds, protecting the miners while taking down the mercs. One leader tried to escape. Marcus tackled him hard and held a blaster to his head. Tell your boss, Marcus said coldly. We're not falling for your games. The truth was revealed. The attack had been fake. Both Threxians and humans saw the recordings. This time, neither side blamed the other. Instead, stood united against those who wanted war. Back on the Valar, Velen looked out the window. You were once just a soldier, he said. Now you are something far more dangerous. Marcus raised an eyebrow. Dangerous? Velen smiled. Yes, you give people hope. 1 year later, Marcus stood at a podium on a floating stage above a peaceful ocean. All around him, thousands of Threxians and humans, sitting together, watching behind him, Queen Sareva, Admiral Strauss, Director Isla, and Princess Ilaria. He held up a glowing scroll and spoke into the mic. I hereby sign the Varela Accord in the name of peace, trust, and the future. The crowd roared. Drones in the sky formed glowing symbols of Earth and Threx. Joined by light, fireworks exploded across the sky. Illyria clapped happily. Velen stood tall beside him, and Marcus. He just smiled. Not because he was a hero, not because he was a soldier, but because he had chosen to save one child, and ended up saving the stars.